Hello guys, my name is Ed, founder of Trail Pursuit, and I'm here with Nathan from Abloc Physiotherapy. Nathan, how are you?
Good, yeah, good. Cheers, Ed.
Awesome. Yeah, how has your Wednesday been so far?
Busy. Yeah, really busy actually. Daddy day on a Wednesday, so it's a non-physio day on a Wednesday, so it's quite nice to be talking on here, to be quite honest.
Office. Yeah, awesome. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I know we've had a couple of phone calls, and you guys are going to be joining us in the Trail Pursuit Festival, which is only 2 weeks away. There is loads going on. We are so busy behind the scenes, but we're really looking forward to welcoming you. So today, for our listeners and audience who are watching, we're going to be talking about Nathan's offering and kind of a behind the scenes to do with physiotherapy and how runners can strengthen their bodies, little things to watch out to basically improve your performance and help improve your recovery. So yeah, let's just kick off with if you could just introduce who you are, what Abloc does. I know you're based in Cardiff, but yeah, if you can just introduce yourself.
Yeah, of course. So obviously myself, Nathan Thomas. I've been a physio specialising in sports injuries now, probably for probably about 12, 13 years, probably now since graduating. Worked in various sports, worked in various kind of levels of sport as well, elite sport, endurance sports. Currently, as well as Abloc, I'm also part-time with Ineos Cycling as well. So that's kind of the endurance aspect of things at the moment. So kind of from Abloc, like you said, it's Cardiff based, and we are very kind of performance driven. We try and be not, I suppose, the average physio clinic. We very much kind of work with a lot of people who have performance goals. So we're always looking at performance markers. From a physio point of view, that could be, different functional tests, and always kind of striving to better someone as such to improve their performance ultimately.
Brilliant. So if someone was to come to you, how would you kind of start the process? What are some of the key kind of questions and consultative areas you kind of explore before setting them off?
Yeah, I think it's very important. Same as any kind of medical assessment to start with. It's always having like full details from everyone. Now, I always like to think if you go to the doctor, you go to a chiropractor, you go to a physio, whatever it is, it's what we call like a subjective assessment. So it's it's the client, it's the patient's kind of opportunity to really give as much information as possible, really. And what I find with physio, there's always a reason for something happening. So with the body, with the anatomy of the body, if something is happening, it's not erratically came on for a reason, unless it's a fall or a crash or an incident like that. It's usually a cause of something. So it's like a jigsaw. So the way I look at it, it's like a clinical jigsaw. So like when someone comes to see myself and Abloc, it's kind of right. Let's piece everything together. Have you done something differently recently? For instance, if you're a runner, have you changed anything? Have you changed your training? Have you changed the equipment that you use? Have you changed the routes that you use? Have you changed the intensity of your training? All these different factors to kind of really kind of make sure that we're thinking of everything. We're thinking of everything, because sometimes a lot of issues are easily solved with just kind of awareness and education as well.
Yeah, definitely. And what are the most common kind of injuries you see from runners?
Most common injuries, see a lot of Achilles injuries, a lot of Achilles tendinopathies. See quite a lot of kind of, particularly trail runners specific, a lot of hamstring injuries, because obviously, running up different terrains, uphill, downhill, a lot of naturally, a lot of knee pain as well. One of the most common, particularly with trail runners, make a trail running specific, is kind of, any downhill running. Like a lot of people cope relatively well, believe it or not, running uphill. It's downhill a lot of people actually struggle with. and that comes down to a lot of the times is how people train and how people condition themselves as well. So it's definitely knee injuries, Achilles injuries, always back injuries. Back injuries are so common regardless of whatever sport. So those tend to be the most common. Yeah.
Interesting. And what's your kind of take on, stretching and loosening up before setting off on a run or a trail race or any sport in particular, really, as opposed to the focusing on the cool down afterwards?
Yeah, good question actually. So I suppose kind of evidence has moved on over the years. We've all been there. Like for instance, if we were younger, we were playing rugby, football, and things like that. Years ago, it was very much kind of static stretching. You stretch your hamstring in a certain position, and you stretch your glutes in a certain position, and you stretch your quads in a certain position. Whereas these days, kind of pre-sport, everything's a bit more dynamic. It's ultimately it's preparing your body then for action as such. So it's increasing the blood flow, increasing your heart rate. It's very much like the pre-running is what I would call more activation now, as opposed to kind of warming up. So you've got to be thinking of, right, what muscle groups are you actually going to be really working hard during your event.
Yeah, definitely. And for someone who may be a beginner or kind of intermediate trail runner, they may be signed up for Trail Pursuit, they may be doing their first half marathon or 10K. What would be some of the key kind of exercises you would encourage them to do or think about?
Just thinking, I suppose, keeping it quite simple. Trail running is a very dynamic sport. Very, very dynamic sport. So kind of your prep before you start the race, before the gun goes off and you start, think of dynamic movements. So it could be things like walking lunges. It could be doing kind of like jump squats, air squats, that type of thing. Not to fatigue, because you don't want to start the race out of breath and a bit fatigued, but it's switching things on. So a lot of dynamic movements, a lot of twisting of the body, twisting of the spine. Like literally things like burpees. A great way of increasing
Activation. Yeah.
Exactly. Because the thing is, the worst thing that could happen is if you're a complete novice. You for instance, Trail Pursuit is your first ever event. You don't want to rock up to the start and off you go without doing anything. Quick coffee and off you go.
I've done that.
As most people have.
5 minutes to go, and there's been no time to warm up. It's just been literally a few high knees and then off. Always best to arrive in good time and make sure you are warm and your muscles are activated.
Definitely.
Okay, awesome. And what's your sport of choice? What do you play?
Not as much these days as I'd like, that's for sure. Used to be a lot of football and rugby and things like that. Now these days I tend to go into more like CrossFit type exercises, run when I can, but triathlons as well. Could enjoy triathlons. A lot of multidiscipline stuff. That's quite good.
Awesome. Are you aware of the long course weekend, which takes place?
Yes, down in Tenby.
Yeah. I've been there a few times with the stand. I haven't. Well, I did the half marathon a couple of years ago, but the atmosphere around the whole town, phenomenal. Just because they always spread the triathlon across a few days.
That's right.
So yeah.
Oh, it's Tenby's an awesome venue for.
Yeah.
I've been down there an Ironman weekend, and I've been down there like long course weekend as well. And yes, it's incredible, to be honest. The crowds, the support people get is brilliant.
Yeah, the energy is insane, and it kind of transforms Tenby, which is also quite cool. People are so supportive. Okay, awesome. So yeah, I guess thinking to like the runners of Trail Pursuit and how they do really range from kind of beginner through to intermediate through to your kind of advanced guys and girls who are doing the marathon, and for this one the 50-mile ultra, which is huge challenge. So what if you were talking to them, what kind of advice or tips would you give them and areas to keep in mind in the lead up to the event. So there's 2 weeks to go. What are some of the kind of training tips or recovery tips you would encourage them to think about?
Yeah. So I think, like you said, it's 2 weeks ago now, roughly. Now, it's very, very common. What a lot of people do just before an event, they overtrain before an event. So that doesn't really necessarily matter if it's, if you're going for the 5K or if you're going for the ultra. What you want to be doing, in a way, you want to be getting to the start line as relatively fresh as possible. All right. There's a balance. Obviously, people want to train, but actually sometimes, like realistically now, this time frame between now and the event, you're not really going to be getting any more kind of physiological changes in your body, pushing yourself, doing long runs or things like that. Now, if anything, you're just at risk of overtraining. So you kind of, between now and the event, kind of your participants really want to start to think of how are they tapering, they're running leading up to the event. So, a lot of people think like a tapering is like it's sitting on your backside doing absolutely nothing, because I'm used to running. It's not like that at all. I mean, you can do other modes of exercise. You just don't necessarily have to load your body as much as you do if you went for a long trail run. So you could be swimming, you could do a bit of cross training, mix it up basically. If you go to the gym, you may decide, rather than kind of pounding your knees, pounding your hips, going for a long run, you may decide you want to get onto the cross trainer, you want to get on the rower. There's different ways of keeping your body ticking over, because running in particular obviously is putting a lot of stress, a lot of mechanical stress through your joints. So it's really a fine balance, I suppose, between now and then, of kind of tapering yourself to make sure you're as fresh as possible, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because that is I think that can be the challenging thing, especially in that final week when you really want to wind it down and kind of have your body arrive as fresh as possible, but the urge to actually go out and kind of train is sometimes you have to manage that. So I guess leading to the event now, so you guys are obviously going to be coming down with your team. You're going to have a space in the Sports Expo, and you're going to be the kind of represent for the massages as well, and sports massages which will be taking place. So can you just give a little intro to what you will be providing and what you hope to get out of it?
Yeah, definitely. So, we're going to be there. We're going to be pitching up, obviously, when registration starts on the Friday. So I'll be there from kind of Friday morning, getting ourselves set up. We'll be there from Friday to kind of late afternoon, late evening Sunday, really. And we pretty much there for whatever the participants want. It could be some advice. It could be like, one thing I'm expecting a lot of as trail runners, it could be pre-event. I've already been contacted quite a lot. A lot of people quite like taping, for instance. A lot of people like to tape their ankles, like to tape their knees, things like that pre-event. So definitely going to be offering a lot of that. So there's going to be plenty of tape on offer. Post-event then, obviously, everyone's going to be finishing at different times at different events and things. We're going to be there really to kind of aid people's recovery. So that, as well as they enjoy their event, they're also there and they can enjoy the rest of the weekend as well. They're not suffering from the dreaded DOMS and muscle soreness. They can enjoy the weekend as well. So the recovery can start as soon as they finish, basically, if they wanted to. So like I said, we'll be there with soft tissue massage, be there for advice. If anyone wants to come, maybe they don't necessarily have issues, but they want advice going forward.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you give a quick overview to someone who might not have had sports massages before, or massages in general, full stop? Can you just give a real quick top level overview of like what massages can do for your muscles and for your recovery?
Of course. So I suppose, say if we say pre-event, for instance, there's a lot of people in elite sport that will have a kind of a massage or soft tissue management done pre-event. So what that basically does, it will maintain and increase your flexibility of your muscles. It'll increase the circulation of the muscles, because ultimately, if you're going to perform to your maximum, you need good blood supply to the muscles. You need your muscles being flexible and efficient to move. So if you've got, like, leading up to the event, if you've got any, I suppose, abnormalities there, or any stiffness or any muscle tension, it will affect how you're going to perform on the day. So that will be kind of pre-event. Now, obviously, there's a difference. Some people have probably experienced kind of, a real hard kind of deep tissue massage, which, let's face it, can sometimes be quite painful. Now, that isn't what you want before the event, because you're just going to be starting the event, you're just going to be sore. So there's different ways that you can do that. It isn't going to be as heavy-handed. And then kind of post-event then, there's going to be people, there's going to be people with joint stiffness. There's going to be people there with muscular soreness and things like that. We're on hand then to help out. It could be manipulative therapy, it could be soft tissue massage, it could be deep tissue massage, it could be trigger point release. We can have an abundance of treatment approaches available to us on the event. So yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, really, really good overview. Okay, cool. And you're going to be doing some talks as well?
Yes, yeah, looking forward to those.
Yeah, so we've got the athlete speaker tent, which will be having various panel discussions. We've got talks on nutrition, kind of representation and diversity in running, trail running. We've got a few talks on mindset, but then also, kind of recovery and in particular injury prevention. So can you give us any insight to what you're going to be talking about?
Well, obviously, I'm going to try and make it very obviously trail running specific. Now, yeah, so as specific as possible, really. Now, obviously, I'm going to be there for kind of Q&A as well. So obviously, if people have got any individual or specific questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. What I'm going to try and do is kind of, I suppose, go from the kind of the whole kind of journey as such, like you were saying, like, leading up to an event, training side of things, the tapering to an event, coming into the event, what do you do in pre-event, and then after the event, what are you doing after the event? And basically to kind of, I suppose, in a way, to kind of empower all the participants, if they're going on hopefully to other trail running events in the future, they've got a better understanding of, actually, remember from the trail pursuit in Brecon, I remember there was that little bit of advice. I'm going to do off my next few events, little bits of advice, get them into good habits going forward.
And that's partly why I love doing it, because you are able to kind of educate and collaborate with people like yourselves and Abloc, who can kind of share the knowledge. Because sometimes when there is just, you can just get overwhelmed with the amount of information online. So to have kind of an intimate, direct conversation with them at the event should be really valuable.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, let's face it. I mean, no one wants to do an event, kind of injured, and definitely no one wants to pull out of an event. So obviously, if it's simple things people can be doing to prevent any of that from happening, it's got to be a good thing.
Awesome. Well, seems like a good note to wrap up on. So where can everyone find you online and on social media?
Yeah, of course. So we're active on Facebook and Instagram as well. It's at @Abloc_physio. We've got a web page as well, www.ablocphysiotherapy.com. And if anyone wants to kind of, I can send you the details as well, Ed. We can forward them out. But if anyone has any specific questions, email address is nathan@ablocphysiotherapy, all one word, .com. So, pre-event, if anyone wants to get in touch with me, we can set something up, before we even meet up in Brecon. Please email me your questions and things like that. And I look forward to seeing everyone.
Go from there. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Looking forward to it. Cheers, Ed.
Cheers. Bye.